those who've not done any practice before. One of the objectives is to try to keep the crown of the head in line with the hip girdle. Okay, so you're having this idea of keeping the posture in the center, so your weight or center of gravity is going down between the feet. Okay, we also want to make sure that we keep the weight more to the center of the feet rather than sitting back on the heels. This creates the backside coming out. So we want the weight to be more towards the center of the feet themselves. And so as you're lowering down, you're keeping this in line with the hip girdle. The tendency, if I show you the side view, is if you try to go low, you end up just sticking your backside out. So the object is to keep this in line with the hips. So when we're lowering, we're actually letting the spine dropping. It's as if something's just holding the tailbone so the back is staying more or less straight. Okay, so the weight is still staying in the center of you going down. Okay, so that's quite important to make sure you don't go too low, don't cause any strain with the joints. So we can start now. So as we're lowering and lifting just a few times, just to get the feeling of beginning to start practicing. As we're just going up and down, before we start focusing on too many different things, if you can just have your shoulders relaxing. So if you lift them up slightly and just let them go down, so you can feel the tension start to go away. And if you let the shoulder blades just slightly tuck in, as if you feel the shoulder blades here, just tucking them in a little bit, so you feel the space between the shoulder blades and the spine. You become aware of that. So, and try not to forget to keep the chin tucked in and the head lifting up all the time. This will be the constant, having this idea of this lifting up by your volition. So you're actually manually doing this. This is kind of a yang kind of thing to do, to lift up, but at the same time, the center is falling down. Okay, you can help, gravity helps with having the falling down sensation. You have to do this bit. Okay, so this is the yin and yang idea, that you're lifting, you're doing and not doing. You're doing the lifting and allowing the sinking to happen. This is the first basic idea of understanding how to relax. Only do what is necessary. So when we're lifting, we try to feel that they're floating up rather than just pushing up with the legs. Okay, this causes more stress on the legs. So if you can feel the head lifting, it's almost like you're pulling yourself up from this point rather than pushing yourself up from this point. So you really want to feel both. But we do tend to use our legs by having this pushing down and pushing up. So when we're going down, if you use mostly gravity to go down to begin with, then the legs are still relaxed and not under much stress. So when you come back up again, they have some elasticity, which is what we're trying to gain from most loosening exercises. This is one of them, okay, of many, I might add. But this is to try to learn to find your center and keep that in mind as often as you can when you're moving about during the day or practicing Tai Chi. So what we're going to do now is, as we're falling down, we'll put some focus in, as if you're, rather than going against the floor, you're becoming part of the floor. It's like your weight is dispersing around you. So it's not a single point of reference that your feet are touching. It's you're almost dissolving or melting into the floor, but you're keeping the head up and releasing to come up. Just relax the feet into the floor. And pay attention a little bit to your fingertips. Make sure you're not just hanging here loosely or rigid. We want to relax. So as we come down and we start dissolving into the floor, it's almost like the arms want to come away. You don't actually do this. It just feels natural to do this because as this space opens, it allows the body to open laterally as well. Okay, so we want to actually experience that sensation rather than force anything. And the more you keep the chin a little bit in and the head tucked up, and you're dropping down and dissolving, you'll start to feel the spine starting to relax. As the core starts to open, gives space for everything to balance. So now we can practice the breathing in as we go down, for those who've done this before. Breathing out as you return to vertical. Breathing in as you go down. Keeping all these little factors in mind if you can, just self-correcting. Keeping the idea of the head stretching up or hanging, suspending. So we have breathing in, keeping the fingertips and the thumb lightly touching the sides of the legs. Wherever they slide up and down is your choice. We're not trying to fix or create any more tension. So breathing in as we go down. Breathing out as we ascend. So just to check, when you're going down, however deep you choose to go, when you get to the bottom, rather than pushing straight up, you want to use the breath. So if we're breathing in, just relax. Usually the buttocks become tense as you're going down. So when you're raising, you get to the top again. Again, rather than just forcing the next movement out, you breathe out, you get to the top, and you relax the shoulders before you descend again. So you're not actually stopping or holding your breath. What we're doing is just enjoying the change of breath from in to out and out to in. So, and using that moment just to check the tension in the body, relaxing, breathing out, relaxing, begin the breathing in cycle. So we're not rushing any exercise or any movement. We're moving at our own pace. Dropping, relaxing, and back. So if we just reverse that, so instead of breathing in on the way down, we're breathing out. So we start off with a nice shallow in-breath. Relax and breathe out. Relax, breathe in. Relax and breathe out. Relax, breathe in. Breathe out. So remember, we're not trying to breathe full, inflate the lungs kind of breaths. We're just starting to regulate the breath. We're learning to relax the breathing mechanism, which we do take for granted, but we hardly ever have practiced enhancing breath or regulating breath. Okay. And relax. So this up and down movement to try to find your center will help when we're doing Mabu, because the tendency when we're in these kind of positions, those who've done Mabu before, or it's the first time you've seen this or done this exercise, the object is initially to open this part. So we're going down, but this time with our feet parallel, okay, rather than like this, which naturally opens by the fact that your knees will go out in the direction of toes. But when your feet are parallel, the tendency is either to go in or to lean back, or sometimes to lean forwards. So we still want this position. So if you see the side view, we're still upright, we're still having this idea. The chin is nice and relaxed, but in more towards the chest than towards the ceiling. So when we're lowering ourselves, but keeping this up, we're making sure that this opens. So you have to feel that this is the natural going outwards with the knees, not pushing them outwards, but just not allowing them to come in. So the back is staying straighter. And how low you go depends on how flexible you are or how much work you want to do. The deeper you are, the better it will be. But the minimum you need to have is that this part is starting to open like the earlier exercise. This softness here, this openness, this creates a pathway for your body weight to be distributed evenly across your feet and for the spine to drop down. So this can lift up and helps to stretch and open the body more so the organs can be more relaxed. If you're compressing your body, everything's restricted in movement as well as in energy flow or blood flow. So we need this lifting and this sinking. Okay. And we have various hand positions in Mabu and various stationary exercises as well as moving exercises. The one I choose for most of the time to begin with is the palms facing down. So our arms are up. My camera's at a slight angle going up, so it may look like I'm higher than I am. But the idea is the palms to be relaxed. If you see the side view, my arm is in a gentle curve going out rather than lifted up and the shoulder and the elbows tucked up here. So we want this hand to be down. So when I'm sinking, it appears to be lower because I'm sinking. Okay, so this as in lowering my stance. Okay. So we don't want it to be down here because it then strains the elbow and the shoulder. Then you're having this lifting. So it's almost like you let your arm swing and then release it. The distance of the hands apart, again, we don't want to be too wide. We want to be close enough so there's a space under the arm for this part of the body, this pectoralis minor or this area to be relaxed. Further out it starts to stretch too much, so you need it to be in slightly. So when we're lowering and holding this position for as long as you find comfortable, we can practice some of the ideas from the first exercise, even though at the moment we're not moving. The first one really is to make sure that the tailbone is going down. Okay? You're actually having this feeling of going down and opening at this juncture. Okay? The feet are more or less flat on the floor. You can have a slight turn. So if this is your feet, you can have the slight turn so the feet are more tending outwards. So the weight towards the outside of the foot sideways or laterally, then inwards, which causes the knees to collapse in. So this idea is to move and make this in a rounded shape here. So we're in this position and the hands are then placed as if the fingertips again are touching something very gentle, just searching for something, as if you're just trying to feel a guitar string, or if you're reading Braille, just having this light touch, as if it's almost surface tension, just resting there. And at the same time, we want the head to be lifted, but the chin slightly tucked in, so you feel the neck being open, and you feel between your shoulder blades like we talked about on the earlier exercise, just being awake and alive. We can also introduce breathing in this, as in please do. Initially, you really need to breathe naturally, don't force any breath. But we can have the idea, even though we're not moving, is when we breathe in, we can feel like we're lowering again. When we're breathing out, you can focus on the head lifting. Breathing in, focus on this bit falling as if you're going lower. Breathing out, the head is lifting. So breathing in, tailbone lowering. breathing out, head lifting. Don't worry, I haven't frozen in time, I'm just practicing as well. So we can reverse that breath unsurprisingly. So you're breathing in, lifting the head, breathing out, sinking into the stance, and breathing in, and out. Okay, if you think of the body sinking down rather than holding yourself up, this is more helpful because the tendency is to try to keep yourself up. So you end up pushing, and this is what causes more tension in the body. So we have to really change that way of looking at it. Like in this exercise, we're not so much pushing down. If you find you're pushing down, the quads burn easy quite quickly, and so do the calves. The same in this exercise. It's not really static. You're just not moving, if that makes any sense. You're not trying to hold a shape as such. You're trying to be in a position where you feel the subtle changes in the weight throughout the body. Okay, so this sinking stance, this area is the most stressed, I suppose, because we end up doing this and holding our legs. This represents your feet. I can't get any. This is why the breathing will help. So you then focus more on the structure first, this up and down, and then breathing through that structure. For example, breathing in, lifting the head, keeping the head up, breathing out, relaxing the quiet area. Breathing in and out. If you like, you can go a little bit lower and try again. See the change in the tension in the body. Try the same thing for a few seconds at least. Lifting the head, breathing in, for example, dropping the tailbone as you breathe out. Checking the weight's not too much on the heels. Your back is more in line with the head. Okay, and relax. So, keeping that in mind, just to get some movement, and before we go into the next exercise, Shibu, we do some arm exercises along with it next time. But we do need to feel that this center is here. So if I have a side view, we want the weight more to the leg that's behind, not the leg that's facing the window in my case. And we want to have this turning idea to change stance. So you're keeping this idea of hanging and the foot just moving. So this drawing this hip back is bringing the foot back. This is what we want to have the sensation, rather than you're planting your feet backwards and forwards. So it should feel relatively light like this. This exercise will also feel relatively light after a while. You're in this position and you can just move from any position without having to suddenly push and tilt from the body. Okay. The object is really to keep the body in line all the time in Tai Chi and Qigong mainly, this kind of Qigong especially, that we need this alignment. So whatever we're doing with our peripheral, parts of the body, this is always going to be a strong supportive base for us. So we need this idea, even in movement, we're keeping this idea of this center being in line the whole time. So we can practice this turning the hip to drive the leg back and the other leg forwards. Okay, so we can try that a few times. So we have this rotation rather than stepping back, stepping forwards, which is what we tend to do. We need this slight rotation. It's almost like spiraling in, spiraling out, spiraling in, spiraling out. So this is drawing in, drawing out. And the other leg is coming forwards because of this hip drawing forwards. But the weight will all stay on the back leg. So when this comes back, that's the change in weight for that to go forwards. So we're not changing backwards and forwards because that incurs lunging, and the body weight has to be compensated for by the fact that you've lunged your body forwards. So we do need this sensation of rotating, drawing, rotating, drawing, rotating, drawing, rotating. Yeah, so a nice exercise to do alongside Mabu because it keeps the concept of up and down or decentering, as well as giving, if you're not used to Mabu, giving some relief to the legs. So you're having this exercise. Okay, so in Shibu, or single stance, empty stance, lots of translations of this, showing a side view first. So we have this exercise of moving back, moving forwards, moving back, moving forwards. This rotation is what we want to see. You notice the head is still facing the same way. You're not letting your head turn from side to side, which does cause some imbalance in some way. So you need this chin to be up. And this rotation feeling, if you do this a few times, generally speaking, the foot that goes in front doesn't go too far in front, naturally. Okay, so in this position, what we want to do, the foot is just in front, is just lift the toe. Okay, you could keep it down, but I want you to lift the toe. But rather than having this happening, you can see my body moving backwards. As you lift the toe, this part softens. So you're going vertically down. So the weight is between the feet, rather than if you do this, your weight, center of gravity is more behind you, which causes more stress in the back. All the exercises we've done are trying to loosen this. So we want to make sure that we're just having this sitting part. This sitting part will look like this first exercise when the legs are going out and you feel that opening, almost the same thing, just that the leg is now here. So that's the posture you want. You're still in the center and the leg is out to the side. Okay, so we're getting into it from a different way, just to ensure that the weight is on this leg, the toe is going up and the body's sinking down. How low you go is up to you. Okay, but what we want is to feed the cats. What we want is to have the hands coming forwards, but in a relaxed way. So the arm is being held up, but away from the body, rather than cramping up from here. We're having the arm in front from here. The other hand will be roughly in line with the elbow. Not too critical at the moment, but what we want to have, like the earlier exercise with the hands like this, is this space under the arm, and this part of the body remains nice and soft and relaxed. The tendency is to hold the arm up. You can see my shoulder going up like this. We don't need this to raise, you just have the arm coming up. Okay, from exercise we do another time or some other sessions. So this is the position of the arm. The same thing here, the arm is coming up this way. Okay, since we're adopting a relatively static stance, we need this part to be relaxed more because it's not taking part in a physical movement. We end up having tension. It just holds on to all the tension in your body. So we do need this to relax. And between the shoulder blades, having this sensation of the head going up, the chin tucked in, and the weight going into this foot. There is some weight on the front foot. You're not actually completely empty. it's the weight of the leg itself, that's all. This is why we want the toes just off the floor. You could have a longer stance or a shorter stance, but it's much easier if you just have this, rather than rocking back and pushing back, just to release here as the toe comes up. So you can see it's more of a downward movement than a backward movement. Okay, so you can see my spine is now too far behind. This is a kind of check you may not be able to see so easily from the side view. Okay, you can see it more clearly. Okay, this idea is dropping, just that little tiny dropping, absorbing into the floor as the foot comes up rather than moving away. This changes your center of gravity and causes tension in the lower back again. Okay, so we try that posture. I'll do facing the camera now so you can see the hand positions are more or less in line. I'm pretty much central to the camera. So this is, you can see the hands are in the center. You can have them slightly apart so you can see, there you are there. Okay, you can see this action and this position. Yeah. So we're sinking in, keeping the chin up, and the hips dropping in. Okay. So this posture, we can use the same ideas as the previous ones, not surprisingly, that we're having this idea of lifting up and dropping down and using the breath in the same way. So we're lifting up by breathing in, head comes up, breathing out, feeling and concentrating on the tailbone or the perineum. Again, lifting up. And dropping down. Lifting up. And dropping down. Now, if you want to use this movement to change stance, lifting the toe up by dropping from here, we can have the opposite stance and just do a few breaths on this side. Lifting up, breathing in. Breathing out. And out. If you want to sink a bit lower, then please do. But do ensure that this is in line with the hips or the tailbone. So I feel relatively comfortable. So again, this session is really for you to practice with it, or if you're recording it and seeing it again live, rather than it's for information only. You need to experience some of these actions, some of these movements, or lack of movement, if you like. It's more of an internal exercise. You're looking at yourself from the inside out rather than correcting yourself from lots of different postures and movements. This is for training for you, or for practice for you to do alongside or every day, every week, as you wish to see it. We're adding more information as we go through. So if you have any questions or any comments you'd like to make on the website or on Facebook, then please ask me. Some questions have been asked. We've hopefully answered a couple of them today. So please do continue practicing and stay safe.